Hey, what's up, guys? Uh, I come across this case called the Jennifer Gledhill case. Jennifer Gledhill murdered her husband, Matt Johnson, when an informant called the police. That informant was someone Jennifer was having an affair with. And that informant told the police that she confessed to him that she shot her husband as he slept in their bed. Talk about a cold-blooded female, guys. And then she moved her husband's body in a container into her minivan. Well, I've seen what her husband looks like, and I've seen what she looks like. And when you try to drag a dead body, that's dead weight. So, how can she, by herself, drag a body in a container out of the house and put it in the back of her minivan? That's quite literally a two-person job to do, because you would have to get him out of bed, roll him onto the floor, then lift him up to put him in said container, and then drag the container from the bedroom down the hall, through the living room, out the front door, and into the minivan. And she buried him somewhere in a shallow grave. The informant told police that Gledhill said she and Johnson, which was her husband, had an argument after he confronted her about having a relationship with another man. And the mattress that he was shot and killed on was replaced with a brand new one. There seems some type of premeditation. I mean, she was having an affair. She was seeing another man. So why not just go the whole divorce route instead of killing her husband while he slept in the bed? And the icing on top of the cake is her parents have now been arrested. Parents of Cottonwood Heights woman accused of killing her husband arrested. Cottonwood Heights, Utah. The parents of Jennifer Gledhill, the Cottonwood Heights woman accused of killing her husband as he slept, have been arrested for allegedly helping their daughter cover the murder up. Rosalie and Thomas Gledhill both face multiple first-degree felony charges of obstruction of justice in connection to the death of Matthew Johnson. Gledhill's parents are accused of helping Jennifer clean up the home in which she allegedly shot Johnson in the head, either on September 21st or September 22nd. Jennifer Gledhill was arrested on October 2nd after a man with whom she was having an affair told police she admitted to killing Johnson, who served in the Utah National Guard. A neighbor told the police that they saw Gledhill's parents cleaning up the home on September 24th until late in the evening. Although Rosalie claimed they only had been there an hour, Gledhill's mother said she had purchased a mattress from Amazon at the request of her daughter. An ongoing investigation into Johnson's death found the new mattress in the Cottonwood Heights home where he was shot. Police have yet to find the mattress that was previously in the home of Johnson's body. So this comes down to, if they can't find his body, this comes down to trying her without a body and charging her without a body, which it has been done before. People have been convicted without a body, and people have been convicted without a murder weapon or other stuff like that. Now, I remember this case. It was back during the 80s. It was a it was an army captain. No, it was a Marine Corps captain. Her and her husband was living up in the Northeast, and her husband had been kicked out of the had been kicked out of the military. So she was his last chance at still holding on to the military roots. And they had got into this huge fight, and she ended up leaving him, which caused him to move off the base and find housing, because since they were married, they were in MOQs, married officer quarters. And when she left him, she went to go stay in bachelor's officer quarters, and that infuriated him and made him really mad. So he went out and purchased a gun. It was I believe it was a Raven 25 caliber, and he passed it off as he was buying the gun for his estranged wife, for protection. Well, she was in the Marine Corps, and it was Quantico, where she was stationed. That was Quantico, and she had her own off-duty officer's sidearm. So why would she need a 25 caliber pistol? Well, come to find out, uh, the guy purchased the gun to kill her. Her name was Shirley Russell. Yeah, it came to my brain. Shirley Russell was her name, and her husband was Robert Russell. And this was a huge case back in the 80s, because she was a Marine Corps captain that went missing, so the FBI was out looking for her. The Army Reserve up there in the Northeast was out looking for her, and Robert Russell was uh, so obsessed that Shirley left him. He started stalking her, and where she was staying at, she was staying with a commanding officer friend of hers. He broke into her bedroom and was sitting there while she was gone, and while her friend was gone, sitting there reading her diary, and talking on the phone with his mistress, and drinking some of Shirley's wine while he was sitting there reading through her diary. And what ended up happening was, they were supposed to paint their MOQ, and she had brought the divorce papers to him that day, and apparently he couldn't stomach not being married to her anymore, and the last piece of his military life was just stripped away, and he had become a special education teacher, which we all know doesn't pay very much, especially back in 1986. And he ended up shooting her in the shed, and then he covered the crime up, for a matter of weeks. Her friend showed up, and he told her friend, and he told her commanding officer that she had walked to the PX to get more paint, and they both knew that the PX where the MOQs were was at least a 7 mile hike on foot, so they really didn't believe him with that. So when her commanding officer was going through the shed, he noticed this reddish brown stain on the ground. And, you know, it was blood, but he passed it off as paint. So the lady he was having an affair with, he talked to her father-in-law, and her father-in-law said, uh, because he asked, how you can get stains off of concrete, and her father-in-law stated, because she was married at the time she was having the affair with him, her father-in-law stated, well, yeah, muriatic acid works, and he said, well, what if it's blood? And the father-in-law said muriatic acid works wonders. So, he was trying to cover up his tracks, just like Jennifer Gledhill was trying to do here, was cover up her tracks, and he ended up getting caught, and they never found her body because he threw her body in a mine shaft in his hometown in Pennsylvania, and then tossed a stick of dynamite down the mine shaft to seal up the mine shaft where her body has never been found. You know, I say that to say this. Yeah, they convicted Robert Russell without a body, so there's good possibility that Jennifer Gledhill, which you know I hope they don't happen because yes, she does have kids, but if she actually admitted to shooting the guy, but it also goes back to hearsay. He said, she said, because if she told it to her lover and then her lover told it to the police, that's secondhand information. So all she would have to do is deny saying it, because it is not her saying it to the police; it's her confessing it to her lover. That's he said, she said, and her lawyer could probably argue that in court is he said, she said, because she didn't say it to the cops directly. She said it to her lover, and her lover turned informant and told the police. When detectives served a search warrant on Gledhill's parents' home, they found a plastic tote that contained a Glock 19 gun box wrapped in a child's onesie. The district attorney's office said that the gun container matched the gun model Gledhill had shown to the man who informed the police. Jennifer Gledhill made her first appearance in court earlier this week and was ordered not to have any contact with her children. Now, let me know down in the comments if that's going too far. Blocking her, banning her from having any contact with her children. The Cottonwood Heights woman accused of murdering her husband while he slept was ordered not to have any contact with her children. During her first court appearance on Monday, Jennifer Gledhill appeared in court remotely from jail following her October 2nd arrest, where she faces murder and obstruction of justice charges in the death of Matthew Johnson. During the hearing, the judge ruled on the state's request for a pretrial protective order prohibiting Gledhill from having any contact with her three children, ages 11, 7, and 5. Gledhill's attorney argued that the state was using a heavy-handed tactic to try to put undue pressure on Gledhill and believed the well-being of the children should be factored into the decision. I can't imagine what it's like to say that she can't see the children and, in effect, tell the children that they can't see mom either. The attorney said they're not named victims in the case. I don't see a basis for having a protective order from that prevents them from having contact with their mother in any form or fashion. Well, like he just stated, they're not named victims in the case. So why is there a protective order against the children if they're not named victims in the case? I do not understand that. I think that's wrong. No matter if she's convicted, no matter if she's been arrested for the murder of their father, you know, she should be able to talk to her children because they're not technically victims in the case, and they haven't been named victims in the case. Speaking for the state attorney, Chantel Argyle asked the judge to look at Gledhill's arrest documents that led to her being taken into custody. We have concerns where we have had similar case scenarios where the minor children have later been attacked or murdered by the defendant as a part of the ongoing process. She said whether it's a mental health issue by the defendant or just simply a means to prevent the prosecution of the matter. That the reason that's there a blanket allegation as to physical safety of the protective parties because that's something that we have seen. In the end, the judge issued a temporary protective order that will remain in effect until it is argued in front of a different judge at a later date. Johnson, a member of the Utah National Guard, was reported missing on September 23rd. After he failed to show up to work at his base, Gledhill allegedly told a man she was having an extramarital affair with. She had shot her husband in the head as he was sleeping. She then claimed to have taken the body and buried it in a shallow grave. As of Monday, Johnson's body has yet to be found. I'm kind of wondering if maybe her parents assisted in the disposal of the body. Because a woman cannot seriously drag. I've seen pictures of the gentleman. He's huge. He's very muscular. And when you get shot and killed, you become dead weight. And it's really hard for someone to pick you up off the ground or off the bed if you're dead weight. So since her parents have been charged with obstruction of justice for helping her cover the murder up, what if her parents also helped her dispose of the body? That's yet to be seen. But still, if you're going to murder your husband, why? In God's name, would you tell your lover? Is she that narcissistic that she would just want to blurt out to her lover, "Oh, by the way, I shot my husband while he was sleeping"? That's the part that don't make no sense. Because if she wouldn't have said anything to anybody, she probably could have got away with murder. With her parents helping her cover everything up, she could have more than likely got away with murder. Was it her being a narcissist? Was it her ego that caused her to blurt it out to her lover? that she killed her husband while he was sleeping because they got in an argument and he confronted her about her having an affair and her seeing another man while they were married. Why couldn't she just say, okay, you know what? I want a divorce. You know, this and that, this and that. You know, why couldn't she say, hey, all right, you caught me. I want to file, I want a divorce. That would have been the more sane thing to do, is ask for a divorce. But you really want to shoot your husband in the head while he's asleep and then turn around and blab to your lover what you did. That's the part that I'm confused about. And you have her parents being arrested for obstruction of justice because they helped her clean the crime scene, get rid of the old mattress, order a new mattress. How do we know that they didn't help her get rid of the body? I mean, you never know. They could have. They could have helped her get rid of the body. You know, it reminds me of this other case that I heard about. It was another northeastern case. This very powerful this very powerful attorney. He was having an affair with a secretary, and you used to hobnob with the rich and the rich and the powerful, and it was him and his two brother, his two brothers, brothers, but they were all connected somehow. Um, his older brother Jerry, they were known as the Campanos or the Campanos. Jerry was into construction. Um, no, no, his younger brother Jerry was this uh, screw up, who would collect guns and smoke drugs. But his older brother ran this construction company, and Thomas Capano, who was this very powerful lawyer, you know, asked his brother Jerry, his younger brother Jerry, to help him because he was going through this thing with an ex lover of his, where she was wanting to end it and she was wanting to move on. He wasn't wanting to move on, so he ended up tricking her to come back to his rental house, and he ended up shooting her in the head. And he went to such an elaborate staging. He got rid of the couch that she was murdered on. He went and bought new chairs. Um, he accessed her apartment and bought a pantsuit that she would never wear. Bought groceries she would never eat. And then he told his younger brother Jerry that he was needing I think it was like $8,000 on the gun or something like that, because he had to get rid of a extortionist, and he gave the gun back to Jerry, and said it's okay, the money worked. Which and what Thomas Capano did was he murdered the female, stuffed her in this gigantic cooler that people would carry onto boats and stuff for like bait. And he called his younger brother Jerry, and he asked Jerry to use his boat. Well, Jerry didn't want to help him because Jerry had a good job. Jerry had a good life. He had a wife, kids, and Thomas played the brother card on him. and and tugged at Jerry's sympathies because Thomas was his older brother. So they went out like 16 miles off of Cape Cod, and Jerry didn't want no part. Jerry didn't want no part of it. They took the cooler, and Jerry didn't know at the time, but this young woman's body was in the cooler. So they took the cooler and threw it off on the boat. Well, the cooler uh, was just floating. So Thomas was trying to sink the cooler by shooting a shotgun at it. Well, when that didn't work, Jerry went to the front of the boat and just sat there because he didn't want no part of what his older brother was doing. And during that time, well, what Thomas had did was he took the boat anchors and wrapped them around the body and let it sink to the bottom of the ocean. Well, Jerry just happened to turn around and look at his brother to ask him if he was done, and Thomas says, "Yeah, I'm done." And Jerry stated that all he saw sinking, all he saw was going in the water was the foot of a female. So Thomas got the death penalty in federal prison. Mind you, this was back in the late 80s, early 90s. But nothing really happened to his brother Jerry because Jerry cooperated because he didn't want no part of what his older brother was doing. And when Jerry turned on his brother Thomas, the older brother who ran the construction business also turned on Thomas. So that both the brothers turned state's evidence on their brother. But that was another case where he was convicted without a body. So people can get convicted of murder without a body. Let's hope and pray that they find the body in this case. Like always, guys, like, subscribe, and comment on my channel. Hit that bell notification for any new uploads, and make sure you click all. And won't you guys check out my new merch store? I got some brand new merch items. I got tumblers. I got glasses. I've got shower curtains now. I've got blankets with some really cool designs on them. You guys have a good Tuesday night. This is Robert with True Crime Podcast. I'm out. Peace.